What's going on, everyone? Nick from Comic Culture here. We're going to do Batman 406. This is year one, part 3. Love doing part 1 and 2 so far, so make sure to check those out if you haven't yet. Frank Miller doing some amazing stuff on Batman. So in the previous issue, we had the Commissioner knowingly blowing up a building that Batman was in. Batman and Jim Gordon had a little bit of a, unintentional team up saving this one woman from this runaway car. Batman escaped into a building once the police got there and started chasing him down. He is injured, and the Commissioner has set in some kind of a strike, right, to take the building out, and that's where we left off going inside of part 3 here. First off, what an amazing opening page right here. They've got him cornered, they've got him outnumbered, they've got him trapped, they're in trouble. And of course, we have all these bats like coming out of nowhere, taking over the top portion of this. Very cool stuff, maybe some foreshadowing. Let's get into it right now. So we're going to start off very, very quickly. Batman, obviously inside of this burning wreckage right here, almost like a storytelling, journaling going on right here, kind of talking about how he can't help these drifters that are just kind of casualties in this little war going on right now. Some of the flame and some of the explosions or whatever's going on actually ignite some of the thermite on his belt, so his utility belt is useless. He has to throw it off because it's like exploding, it's popping. And so this whole scene right here, we're talking basically about like, okay, I don't have a lot of tools left. I have like a lockpick, obviously like inside of my gloves. I have something in my boots. I have something in my cape or whatever. But most of my gadgets are in my belt, and now that belt's gone. So I'm going to have to like go back to basics here and try to escape danger by going in this little shaft for a moment, just to escape the fires and whatnot. We are going to go across town right now. We have Selina actually asleep, covered in cats right now, and she's yelling at the cats. Man, this is so reminiscent. Some of the cats trying to wake me up in the middle of the night, and it's not time for food yet. And here we are. She's completely covered in cats. We have her roommate here, who is the little girl we saw in the first issue in part 1, and she's basically saying, hey, look, there's like an explosion going on. There's fire across town. I don't know what's happening. We got to see what's going on right now. And of course, Selina's over here like, oh my God, it's just too early for this nonsense. We can't be doing this right now. And of course, you see kind of what they see from a distance, these explosions going off. And so it's pretty crazy what's going on. Of course, we have Gordon right here. He's still suffering from a concussion from the interaction he had with Batman and the woman who almost got hit by that wild driver. Of course, we have our other members of the police force here, or squad unit, whatever they might be, and they're like, no prisoners, man. We got to go inside. We're going to take care of them. But Gordon, throughout this book, he's going to be talking about like, hey, I think Batman might be on the side of good. He helped me with that woman, and he's been doing some other stuff that's been good for the overall cause, but like he's still a vigilante, so he's still contemplating all this crazy stuff right now. Now, of course, we have Selina and her roommate. They're back. They turn back on the news, and of course, we get those classic television scenes right here, basically saying we have a team right here. The Batman attacked the police force, things like that. Now he's in hiding right now, and they got the building surrounded. They're going to take him out. So they're getting ready right now. Selina's actually feeding all of her cats, and they're gonna suit up and kind of hit the road and go see what's happening because a crowd is forming, obviously, where this explosion is taking place. This is some really cool stuff happening right here. We have our police force entering the building, and they're on the radio kind of reporting what they're seeing right now. They're obviously looking for Batman, but like the fire presumably has been put out at this point, and not exactly sure how. Maybe the fire department got there or something like that. We didn't really see that happen, which is kind of a weird thing, but they're canvassing the area right now. We see like an old chimney that's going to come into play. Obviously in the bottom parts right here, like, oh, maybe there's a chimney. Maybe he went down there. There's like cats walking around and stuff. And there's also this gate right here that looks like, or this trap door rather, that looks like it's been opened. So they think he's down there. So they just start lighting it up, like trying to shoot through it, take him out. But that doesn't really work. They end up going down there, just basically saying, hey, we got you surrounded, man. This is the only place you could possibly be. So we're coming down there to come take you out. And what's cool is like in like classic storytelling fashion, you have a squad of guys going down. You have 2 guys staying back up on top just to make sure that like, the area is secure. Then you have Batman, who is hiding in the chimney right here that we're being shown prominently. He's doing like the Vulcan neck pinch, you know, and he's knocking these guys out. And meanwhile, their fellow officers are downstairs right now, and they find out it's just some like hideout for some junkies and whatnot. And of course, the trapdoor shuts above them, and now they're locked in there because Batman's up on top. He does take one of their walkie-talkies here and starts talking to them like, hey, hold your fire, you'll kill your own men, like, don't start shooting at me, all this kinds of stuff. And of course, you know, they're like, dude, we got to kill this guy, shoot on sight. That's what we've been paid to do. That's what the commissioner's telling us to do. They're all crooked people anyways, so they got to do that kind of stuff. But Batman drops a gas bomb or something like that down the chimney where these guys are and tries to smoke them out. Meanwhile, this is one of my favorite panels of the whole thing. They're on the radio saying like, oh my, quick, get your masks on. What's going on? All this stuff. And one of the officers like, you think we need to send him some help? And no, we can't help. Breaks my heart. And then he's over here lighting up his cigarette. It's hilarious. And then Selina and her roommate actually show up over here, and you know, they're trying to listen to see if Batman's actually alive still, and looks like that's coming through. But he says we'll see his corpse soon. So that's kind of foreboding for Selina Kyle to be saying. Meanwhile, you have the commissioner up here getting a bird's eye view of what's going on, basically yelling at the guys, you know, we got to take this guy out. What am I paying you for? All this stuff. So he's yelling as a crooked dude would yell, looking down at all the wreckage over here. Batman has got a few minutes. You know, he took out the guys up top. He's basically incapacitated the guys down below in the little bunker. So he's bandaging up, you know, kind of taking inventory of what he's got, right? He's got like a bum leg right now. He was shot earlier. He basically was blown up in this big explosion. And there's this little cat right here that he's made friends with. And so he's going to start kicking some ass when reinforcements start coming through. So dawn is approaching, which is going to be pretty interesting in a cool shot here very soon. And we have more units coming down the stairs. And now we have this cat who is going to play a pretty important role later in the book. So we'll see a little bit about that. But this cat's bouncing away, kind of spooking all these officers and units and stuff like that are trying to find Batman. Batman does introduce a new piece of technology right here, which is a little bit of foreshadowing from we saw on the opening page. There's this little sensor that's on the bottom of his shoe that he can activate. It actually attracts bats. So on the next couple of pages, we do get to go in a little bit of history lesson. We know this now, but you know, we're talking about Wayne Manor. There was a cave system underneath there. He spent tons and tons of money on this technology to like bring bats out to his location. And so we're going to be seeing this in action very, very shortly, but it's going to take some time for these bats to actually come to his aid. So he needs to buy some time still. So he pulls out his blow dart. He's got like 3 poison darts. He's got like a whole unit of men around him though. So like he's got to be pretty selective on what he uses. And of course, this cat's still going around, basically kind of getting all their attention for Batman, trying to, you know, keep him off their radar. So as you can tell, reinforcements have arrived. Now the trapdoor is blocked by this giant beam now, so everyone has to climb out of these that chimney we saw earlier. As one of the main guys is coming out, he gets hit with that poison dart, and then of course that reveals Batman's location, so they all start shooting at him. This is a great scene. It's basically Batman just diving out of the way, and you see all this bullet fire just riddling this column over here. It's just like a cool usage of like the art to show that. And Batman's over here thinking to himself, okay, I got a couple more minutes for my escape plan to finally arrive, and now I got all their attention. There's not a whole lot of places I can hide, and so I don't know what I'm going to do, but he's jumping around. There's probably a lot of dust and debris, stuff like that happening. And so he's dodging all this gunfire that's just nonstop. And he's trying to save this cat at the same time. He's trying to save the cat, and he does, but he actually takes a bullet in the arm over here, and that cat actually jumps across the cop car and over to Selina, of course, right? And so she's going to be probably forever in his debt for saving this cat. And Gordon's witnessing this too. Now, all this gunfire happening right now, one of the bullets actually exits the building and hits one of the officers in the shoulder. And of course, Gordon's over here like screaming at the unit inside that like, hey, watch what you're doing, you idiots, right? And so they're closing in on Batman right now. He's behind this one column. He's completely surrounded with guys with like M16s. The only move Batman has left is to knock down this support column that's in front of him, giving him some cover. And of course, that buys him just enough time to jump out of the way as this floor collapses around all of these units. And it gives Batman an excuse to get up close to the guy that kind of is leading this unit right now. He actually goes to doing some close quarter combat here, taking him out, yelling at him, you're the one who tried to shoot the cat. And he grabs him and actually throws him through the brick wall into the cop car over here. Now, this is the really cool moment where the bats come in to rescue. This is kind of a reminiscent of that opening page. And what I love about this whole thing is just the lighting that they do in here. So we have Gordon noticing that something's going on behind him, and then all of a sudden that shadow, that shade comes over his head. It's kind of very reminiscent of 300 with those arrows coming at them, right? And so you get this really cool shot of the skyline. I almost wish this panel right here was bigger. At least we get a long panel, and it's showing all those bats basically blotting out the sun, right? Just like the arrows. And while everyone's distracted, Batman gets back up and starts kicking some more ass over here, which is really awesome. And then basically the bats, kind of like they did in Batman Begins, when he used that as an escape plan, he uses it as a big distraction technique. So we have all these people that were outside watching this unfold. They are under attack as well. And these bats are actually like biting up people, and Batman uses it as cover, get away from this squad. And of course you have the commissioner down there just screaming his orders at the people to not give up. He gets on his bike, and now Batman's using this cloud of bats above him as kind of like camouflage or cover to escape. He actually steals a police motorcycle, and he's on the run, and all this dialogue here is basically saying, yeah, they were chasing him down, squad cars were chasing him, the helicopter was chasing him, but by the time the bats dissipated, Batman was already gone. He must have taken a left turn here and there, and some of these guys like drove off the pier, off the docks, which is really weird. And then of course, this is a funny scene over here. Every member of the team, every cop, everybody in the crowd was vaccinated against rabies. And so we have Selina and her roommate here basically getting ready to get poked. And then somebody stole a suit at a tailor shop nearby, and there was like cash sitting on the register. So I guess that was Batman, I suppose. And then we have the main guy that led the attack in on the building towards Batman. He had a bunch of broken ribs and broken bones, and basically he was thrown through a brick wall. So of course he would. And then all the quote unquote winos that were in the building, you know, no harm, no foul. Nobody's going to care about them. So their remains are going to be left there. So where we go from there, this is going to explore more of Jim and this partner of his. And we kind of touched on this a little bit in the previous issue at the end. Jim was very distracted by this young woman over here in the previous issue towards the end. And he's kind of going through, again, almost like a journal style, basically saying, you know, I wonder if it was Bruce Wayne. You know, he's got the money, he's got all this stuff. You know, he needs an alibi. We need to investigate this. And of course, Bruce Wayne and Batman, they paid off some people to say, oh, he's in Switzerland or something like that. And he hurt his leg and he hurt his arm and he's going to be in a cast. He'll be back in a month, something like that. So they're doing some detective work. They think it's Bruce Wayne. They also think that it's Harvey Dent. And so they're kind of crossing these names off their list, trying to see which one could actually pull off something like this. And so another funny thing here is basically, you know, there's all this inner monologue or inner dialogue going on rather. And as soon as his partner says something, he's like, oh, I'm sorry. Did you say something? Like he's not even paying attention to what's going on with her in the room. So it's almost like a common thing that he does with people in his life. He's kind of wrapped up into his own thoughts. And when other people start contributing, he's kind of off in his own world. So we see a little bit of that alibi kind of actually happening right here. He's doing some skiing, stuff like that, working on his moves and everything, you know, as one does. And of course, here's Jim's new partner saying, oh, it's quitting time. You want to share a cab? And all he can think is, think of her as a cop. Think of her as a cop. We are going to move on over to here real quick. And Selina, she's getting pretty fed up with her whole with the current situation with her and this little girl that she's living with right now. There's apparently some dude that was mistreating them. And she's like, you know what? This is not worth it anymore. I got a new idea. We got to change our line of work. So we're going to see this play out a little bit more here very soon. Now we have this classic diner shot right here where we have Jim and his partner, and she kind of goes into her history, and she's basically half his age, and she was from Germany, and she was like too masculine for the jobs or the roles or the positions that she was in before. And of course we have Jim in his inner thoughts here, just thinking all kinds of crazy stuff and getting himself all kinds of trouble over here, eventually leading to the point where they embrace inside this alley and this little door frame right here. And he's completely riddled with guilt at this moment, but like the temptation apparently was just too much for him. And so he actually gave in at this moment, completely hating himself. And this is a very telling scene right here, but we'll get to this page in a moment. Selina, showing what her intentions are nowadays. They spent all the rest of their money on this fancy cat suit. And she's like, listen, we're just going to steal from now on because this city is awful. These men are awful. They're treating us like trash. We're going to go get our money a different way. And so we get kind of like an introduction to her costume and to her motivations and things like that. And then, of course, we get Jim down here staring at that revolver. And this is a pretty powerful scene right here where he's talking about his pregnant wife and how he needs to talk to her. And he doesn't quite understand like why he acts the way he does. It's not about Batman. He's a criminal. I'm a cop. That's simple. Barbara's everything. She's pregnant. I should be treating her better. I should be waking waking her up, asking her, begging me for forgiveness, things like that. But he's just so in his head right now. You can tell that his job just occupies every spare moment of his life, of his energy. And so that's what's happening over here on this page. And again, he's contemplating, he did save that woman. Talking about Batman. He did save that woman. He did save that cat. He's probably not a bad guy. But, he's still a cop. He still has to do his job. Very powerful scene right there. And that's how the story actually ends. This is a great book. I'm loving this one. The next issue is going to get a little bit more into Batman and Jim Gordon's relationship, because there's a little bit of dialogue in here from Batman basically saying, maybe I should start teaming up with this Jim guy. He's actually not a bad guy based on what I've seen so far. He's trying to help that lady. He doesn't seem crooked. He was yelling at the guys that maybe this is all a big misunderstanding. So he's probably on my side, and I'm going to need somebody like that to be more successful in the future. So we are going to explore a little bit of that in part 4 very, very soon. So be on the lookout for that one. But thank you very much for watching this video. Again, if you were around buying comics when this book came out, let me know what the overall thought was back in the day. Let me know what your thoughts were, what the scene was like back then, the reception of this book. I would really like to know that kind of stuff. But again, thank you for watching. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate it. See you all in the comments.